Guys, welcome to MyGuy Reviews, the podcast. As always, we have a topic that we discuss. One person brings in the topic idea. The other person has no idea what the topic is, but still contributes by reviewing and kind of chipping in where they can. And today I am joined by my guest, MyGuy Monkey. How you doing?
Hi, who's this?
MyGuy Free. And as we live in the UK, shall we have the weather chat now? Because this is all I've heard this week. So,
what's happening with the weather?
So it got cold. The weather's got hot now. And has anybody told you, oh, he's ill? There's a bug going around. These are usual sayings. There's always a bug going around.
Yeah.
I've been ill all week.
I thought it was because I slept in a hammock in the night, but apparently everyone's ill, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's another UK saying, right? Everyone's ill. There's a bug going round. Oh, it must be the weather because we're not used to
the changing weather. That's the thing. Our weather is always changing, though. So it literally changing temperatures makes you ill. So,
but we should be used to it by now.
Nature of ill people. We should be. We should evolve by now, but no, we're just going to die.
So now that we got the weather chat out of the way, let's get into.
I didn't know that was on the cards.
I know, I'd call you off guard, didn't I? Yeah. Okay, so this week's
it's topical for international audiences, you know.
Yeah, so people know that we're coming up to autumn soon in the UK, and everyone just gets ill, and then it'll get to winter, and everyone will get ill. It'll come to spring, and we all get ill. Yeah. It doesn't matter what season it is. There's always illnesses.
Summer, it's partly 5, except we'll be ill.
Yeah.
Rain.
Yes, and then we'll have hay fever sufferers. So
what's
everyone's...
the topic? My God.
Oh yes, so let's get back onto today's topic.
Whether the topic, that'd be amazing.
Oh, if only. I'm sure this person
give me an idea.
I mean, there's weather involved in what this person's work is about.
Oh, okay.
That's your first clue. This
hard.
person uses a pseudonym sometimes when they do work. So they use a different name, not just their main name, when they're contributing to. So some people know the person as one name, kind of like their real name, and a lot of people would know them as their kind of like stage or pseudonym as well.
Okay. Is this person a male?
Yes, this person is a male.
Thought so. I figured that out by you almost saying him.
Him, I know, a couple of times. Do you want to take a guess as who I'm talking about?
No
idea. You know it's a male? No, okay. This person is known for... he's got a lot of credits in screenplay and writing.
Okay.
He starred in movies as well. I don't think he's directed anything yet.
Oh,
he has. Yeah, he's directed as well. So he's more known for kind of the writing aspect, but yeah, he's directed. He starred in films. Any ideas?
No.
Okay.
Someone who's Quentin Tarantino. There you go. Oh, no. He directed.
One of his directorial films is a film called Maximum Overdrive.
Okay, I've not seen that.
A lot of his work has been directed by like loads of people, like from Brian De Palma to George A. Romero, John Carpenter. So huge cult directors as well as kind of mainstream directors have worked with him.
Okay.
And he's well known.
A screenwriter.
He's well known for the writing part of it. Yeah. I
don't really know many screenwriters.
No, you wouldn't. That's why I kind of threw the curveball at you. So some of his works that have been kind of converted or changed or adapted into films. I'll give you a couple of titles, see if you can work it out as to who it is. There's a movie called Cell.
Okay, I know that.
2016 film. Okay, good. A film called Mercy.
Right.
A film called 1922.
That sounds familiar.
A film called Riding the Bullet.
No idea.
At Putal. directed by Bryan
No.
Singer, the X-Men director. No,
No
I thought
idea.
that might. Dolores Claiborne.
Dolores, isn't that
Yeah.
the Back to the Future car?
No.
And that's a DeLorean. No idea.
The Lawnmower Man.
I've seen that one.
Yeah, but
Classic.
his work. So
Who is it?
he's known for his writing.
Yeah.
All of these are books that have been converted into films.
All right. So he's written all of these.
He's written all of these, yeah, as
I
books,
don't
and then
know
they've
any
been
writers
adapted.
apart from Stephen King.
That's right. We're talking Stephen King
Yes.
to celebrate the release of It Chapter 2. I thought let's look
I
at
didn't see
Stephen
it yet.
King's filmography. But what we're not going to do is go through each one. I have randomly chosen 5 that tend not to be talked about a lot.
Okay.
And we'll discuss those 5. And as always,
Have
I'll
you
give
seen
you
them?
I've seen them all. I'll give you the title.
Excellent.
You will then tell me the premise. I will then give you a basic synopsis, and then I want you to review it based on what I say. So see if you either agree or disagree with what rating I may have given. So we won't talk about Brian De Palma's classic Carrie, because everyone talks about it. It's a great movie. We won't talk about Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, because again, that's
that
one of those movies that just gets talked a lot. I was going to talk about
coming soon.
Sleep Doctor or whatever. It doesn't look that good, but it might be good. We won't talk about Kojo, or we won't talk about Christine, even though I love John Carpenter. And we won't talk about The Running Man, which was the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. That was a really good one as well. Or stuff like Stand By Me. So we won't talk about like the big movies that have kind of like
Stand By Me. Excellent, yeah.
Yeah, that was one of his as well.
We won't talk about that.
You can briefly go over them if you want. So I've chosen 5 from his filmography. I will do them in order based on Rotten Tomatoes ratings. So the least fresh one first, working our way to kind of like the most freshest one. So the first one
of the unheard
of the 5 that I picked, the random 5. Forget Misery is another awesome film of his that Kathy Bates won an Oscar for. Yeah, I mean they're all good.
Yeah,
so
I know that one as well. Yeah, there's a Family Guy spoof of it, so I know that one.
Yeah, so most of these have been spoofed in some way as well. Even the ones I'll talk about, and we'll see how much you could bring to the table on this one. So the first one I want to talk about is I remember watching this when I was younger, and I think it was on TV or something. Anyway, it was one of the first Stephen King films or adaptations I saw. So I remember this, and this is kind of engraved in my head. Hence why I want to talk about this one first. It's Stephen King's The Thinner. What's the story, My Guy Monkey? I would like to know.
I have no idea.
The title's called Thinner.
People start getting thinner.
Yes, yeah. So it's about a lawyer who gets a gypsy curse put on him, and he starts to lose a lot of weight. So this has been parodied in Simpsons as well.
Yeah.
And so he starts to lose weight, and he starts to look, but then to the point where he's losing too much weight, and he's becoming kind of anorexic to the point where he's going to die with this gypsy curse that's been bestowed upon him. That's the premise of the film. So I remember watching this film years ago, and it has a slightly darker ending. This is very, very first kind of few movies I'd seen with a dark ending. So this has kind of a darkish ending to it, and it's one of those that really kind of like I was like, wow, the movie itself was fine, and then the ending I was like, oh, I quite like the ending because of what happened. So I don't know if I should. Are you going to watch this? Should I spoil this film from 1996? It's 20 years old.
Yeah, let's spoil this. I mean, no one really wants to go back to the 90s, do they? So the quality was a bit lower.
Okay, so I'll do a spoiler-filled review. So this guy basically is a terrible lawyer. I say terrible. He's a lawyer. He's good at what he does, but it gets people off who should be going to prison. And one day he's driving along, and he's distracted, and he runs over a gypsy. So again, this is stuff that's been parodied in other things.
Yeah,
it's also it's also parodied in Scary Movie, the very start of Scary Movie, where the dad's driving, runs over the daughter, because while they're driving, this is kind of like that's the start of the film. Anyway, so he kills her. Then, as he's being acquitted, he gets a gypsy curse put on him because he's quite an overweight guy, and the guy says the words thinner to him, and then he's going to become thinner. And as the film goes on, the
Terrible
people,
curse.
and he just starts to really, really get slim, and he's thinking, oh, what's going on? So he goes back to try and get a cure, and so then bake him an apple pie, and they put some of his blood in there as well. Strawberry pie. Sorry, strawberry pie with its blood, and they mix it together. And they said, okay, so you have two choices. If you eat the pie yourself, you will die. Okay, or you give the pie to someone else, and the curse will go to them. So so if you don't eat the pie, you'll die anyway. If you eat the pie, you'll die. Or you can give it to someone else, and they could die.
Give them the pie.
Yes. So he's worked out in the meantime that his wife's been cheating on him. So he goes home and he gives her the strawberry pie to eat.
Ooh, that's nasty.
He wakes up in the morning. He's all good. His wife, on the other hand,
happy ending.
His wife, on the other hand, dead.
Yeah. Dead,
so
just like that.
Just like that. Just a snap of the finger. So it's weird because I'll fill in a little bit more at the end, but it's weird because you follow this guy and you slightly empathize towards him, but he, the things you've seen so far leading up to where he's not the best of people anyway, because of what he does, who he lets off, all of that's not good. He also ran over the gypsy in the first place. He did kill her, so he has committed murder. So now he's killed his own wife.
Manslaughter,
not murder. But now he's killed his wife, so that's murder, right? So it's an interesting kind of. I don't know what the book says, but when I watched this when I was younger, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm rooting for him because it's so the film itself. I mean, it's been slated on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm a grown adult now. I guess if I watch it back, it may be a terrible film, but watching it then, I was like, it is slightly complex. Like his backstory's like, do I go and say, I'm with him or not with him because of the things, and then obviously there's the incident with his wife and she's been cheating on him, and he gives her the thing, and then she dies. So this is where normally a film would end. He wakes up, all good. This film's got a few more minutes at the end of that. So he then goes downstairs and he sees his daughter eating the cake.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Shit.
Oh.
Now, he's about to eat the cake as well. Because now he's killed his wife intentionally. Nice. His daughter's about to die accidentally. He
feels real bad about that.
Now he feels the sheer guilt of this all. But then he gets a knock on the door. And it's the guy who he suspects has been sleeping with his wife comes to the door. So he invites him in to eat the strawberry pie. Yeah.
A bit of the pie. Everyone has a bit of the pie, don't they?
Everyone does. and then that's where the film ends. So this is the very first time I've seen, because when you're younger, you don't watch a lot of these kind of films and you don't really see films with a lot of dark endings. And this film had one of those dark endings that kind of, I didn't know where the film was going to Miranda to. And then when he wakes up, you're like, oh, it's the end of the film. But then you have that extra minute where you see his daughter eating the pie, and you're like, oh shit! And then she opens the door. But when he opens the door, and closes the door, this is kind of the final shot of the film. He smiles into the camera, so it's almost you're left with: did he not eat the pie and he just let them all die, or does he take a slice himself as well as everyone else? Ooh.
Yeah. I think he would have eaten the pie still for his daughter, but probably very satisfied at getting his revenge. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But at what cost?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. Well, great film. Great idea. But it sounds very much like the trope of Stephen King, where it is a bit meandering for most of it.
Yes.
but there's a core idea in there that's really good. Which I mean, the idea of having an anti-hero who's kind of basically normal. Like people make mistakes, people do stupid stuff, and you're going to relate to him still a bit because people do make mistakes. But then murdering his wife.
Yeah.
Is that a step too far? But then again, given the right script, you could probably relate to him for that as well. When you think, have a feeling of how he feels about that, and a build up of their relationship or something that makes you sort of understand why he's so angry. I don't know.
Yeah. So this really got kicked by critics. So 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's getting like it. Oh, most people giving it like 1-star, 2-star rating. I remember the ending, and that was the one bit that really stuck with me. I was like, I think the film itself is kind of fine. I didn't know if I kind of can relate and can't relate, but the ending was the one bit I was like, wow, that was really good.
How old were you when you watched this movie?
I watched it when I was a wee lad. I can't remember. It would have been something like that. So 96, we may have had. It would have come on TV, in the 2000s, maybe 20s, 10, 15?
It's in your teen years. Okay.
But by that time, I hadn't seen many films like this, I think. I'd seen a lot of straightforward horror films. You've seen the Friday 13th, the Halloweens, The Exorcist, things like that. But they were pretty much straightforward horror films where you're rooting for the final girl, you're rooting for the good to win. In here, this was the first time I think I'd seen a film where the layers were there, but I just couldn't like decide where my loyalty lied. And by the end of the film, it's almost left ambiguous as to, do they all die, or is he the only one living? But I quite like that, because that kind of stays with you a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think the ending sounds good.
If you skip,
unfortunately, the rest of the film is probably 15% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I mean it's about an hour and a half, the film. So I guess if you skip the hour 20-odd minutes, maybe get it to the point where they make the pie and then kind of watch it from there. But we've spoiled the ending anyway. So based on our rating system and the way I've described the synopsis and the plot, what rating do you give the film?
I give the last 10 minutes a watch on demand.
Oh, yeah.
And the rest I give a 1-star. Don't bother.
Don't bother.
Don't bother. It's in this day and age, it's going to be excruciating. But if they remade it and they made it more interesting and on the whole, the rest of the movie, and focused on that and really built on it, I think it could be a 3 or 4-star movie. But I think this one suffers that one of those things, another trope of Stephen King is writing just an idea and then making an entire thing out of it.
Yeah.
So it's got a great idea there, but the meat of it is just not filled in. So yeah, one star for this one. Sorry.
It's one of those where
give it higher.
It's one of those where I think, because it's maybe a shorter book, maybe, I don't know, because this one I haven't read. The concepts and the themes are better in book form than they are visually executed, I think.
Yeah.
So I have to agree with the kind of the Rotten Tomatoes rating, because rewatching it is kind of exactly that. I was kind of just like, get to the end of it. I just want to see the end again. So that's the first one. So that's one that not many people talk about, The Thinner. The second one I want to talk about is one that kickstarted a huge franchise. When I say huge, they weren't massive box office hits, but multiple sequels spawned off of this one. It's maybe his biggest sequel generating film of all time as well. And this is 1984's Stephen King's Children of the Corn.
Okay.
What's the story, my guy monkey? I would like to know.
I have no idea. I can say this to every single one of these. I'm guessing there's children in a cornfield and they want to kill everyone.
That's right. That is exactly that. Yes, you're spot on.
I'm on a roll.
again, this has been something that's parodied a lot in The Simpsons, South Park. There's lots of spin-off parodies, not a direct parody of this, but there is a lot of parodies. So
there's I knew a bit at the time as well.
Yeah. So this is based in like a fictional town in Nebraska, and they've got these huge cornfields. And then, however, one year the crop just fails to grow, and so the town folks start to pray and say, "Oh, it must be because we're not praying enough and stuff." And what happens is this 12-year-old kid called Isaac, he goes to the cornfields and he says, "Well, basically, it's because of the adults." And there's a deity within the fields called He Who Walks Behind the Rows. And what we need to do is kill anyone who's over the age of 18. So all the children revolt, and they kill all the adults in the kind of the town, except for one. And they kill them all, and you either join the cult or you're just basically killed. If you're over 18, they kill you, because that's the age where you're kind of going from being a child to adulthood.
Yeah. So they're basically putting the idea of adults can sin and children can't, and therefore kill the adults.
Yes.
That sort of idea. And
there's a South Park episode on this as well that got parodied quite a bit, where they split the groups, if you remember, and then there's some adults turn up and say, "Where's the parents?" So it's one of those, again, Stephen King things that the idea has been parodied quite a few times. The film itself is, I guess, because it's supposed to be a horror film. I didn't feel. I think I watched it too late because I was a grown adult by the time I would have watched this. This came out in '84.
Never watched Stephen King as an adult.
Yeah. I mean, so this was a film that came out in '84. I would have watched it when I'm about similar age to when I watched Thinner, about 15 or something. And you've seen enough horror films by that time to realize that this isn't,
to know what's scary.
Yeah, so there's no jump scares, there's no kind of psychological thriller involved. There is the element of the thing that they always refer to, He Who Walks Behind the Rows, as in what is that thing. But of course that isn't something that is fully explained in this one. There's multiple sequels, so maybe it has in one of the later ones.
Okay.
But there is a moment where something happens, which I don't want to give away because it's kind of the twist, and it involves that deity, should we say? But you never see it. You don't really kind of understand what it is. But then as kids get to after the age of 18, so when they're like 19, they'll kill the kids anyway. So that's kind of the premise of that bit. But what happens is there's a family who husband and wife. The husband's got a new job. Driving through the town, they obviously break down.
Oh yes.
The standard story. They meet the one adult who's actually working, because what they do is they have an adult and he provides them with like gas and food and stuff, right? That's his job. So they leave him alone, but for kind of like for living, obviously he has to then repay them in kind of work stuff. So they meet him and he's like, "Oh, I can't fix your car. I can't give you gas because he's not supposed to anyway." And so then the couple go in, they try and stay the night because then they'll head off in the morning and they try and find supplies and stuff. And then,
I've either seen this bit or I've seen the parody so much that I feel like I've seen it.
Yeah, and then obviously the children of the corn come out of the cornfields to try and kill them. That's kind of the premise of the film. As with a lot of horror films, you have that moment where you drive through either a town or a village, or you break down and you're stalked by the prey. But in this one, maybe it's because it's 1984. It never felt like it was tense. Never felt like anybody was in real danger. It didn't feel like the traditional horror films of that time, I think, because I don't know why. But anyway, it got a huge cult following. People like the premise of kind of like the kids revolted against the adults, killed all the adults, and they lived in this kind of like in this own village by themselves and supported themselves until they get to a certain age, and then they kill each other off. It's had so many sequels as well.
Yeah. So essentially, it's another idea film, isn't it? Stephen King has one idea and then builds off of it.
Exactly, and I think it sounds good as kind of like a book, because you're driving through. The way you can describe it, you can make it sound more tense. You can make it seem more darker, more sinister.
And you can build up the backstory more
Yeah.
fluidly. Like you can build it up all the way throughout the film and all sorts of things.
And in a film, on the other hand, you can't build those bits into a film where the budget is so small and using the technology you had back in '84. So for
that's
me,
the other problem, isn't it? They're often lower budget films. These films, so
yeah. So in comparison to certain films, would have cost, obviously in the '90s, like The Thinner cost like 14 million, but Children of the Corn back in '84 would have cost 800,000. But then that would have been a good sizable budget for 1984, maybe. So
that would have been a lot.
But it's just trying to build a world or a village where it feels like it's more derelict and it's kind of there's more danger involved and stuff. I think at that time, maybe filmmakers couldn't really portray that enough. Now, I think you could almost have this as a TV show, maybe not a film, where you can do the backstory,
Netflix.
You can explain that, and you can do it like a mini series, just just like 6 episodes or something, not too long. And then at the end of this one is where this film would end, and then if you want to do more than that, or just keep it as a mini series, I think that would quite work. Because then you can build.
Days, they would just make loads and loads and loads of episodes and make it last forever.
Yeah, because
drama.
Because once you build the world and you spent the money on the sets, you could really kind of give that kind of feel. Like in 30 Days of Night, there's a moment where they're in the house, and because it's just nighttime and the vampires are walking around the house slowly, and there's an element that they could be caught at any moment. Things like that you could build better into. Nowadays, you could build that into a film as well, but you then just feel the terror, and you feel that at any point they can be grabbed or they can be killed.
Basically using all the common tropes that we're used to and that we understand. They hadn't mined movies completely by the 80s. They were still experimenting, finding what they could do with this.
Yeah, so so this one got like a 36%. So based on kind of what I've said, the synopsis and my review, what's your? Where does it sit?
Oh, this is a tough one. It's either 1 or 2. I think. Is it worth watching these days? Unless they make a remake of it, I guess you have to watch it at some point. So let's give it a 2 stars. Watch it on your streaming sites.
Yeah. Don't invest any money in this one.
No.
I think it's just
if
you're a completist, if you're someone who likes to watch all Stephen King stuff, I would say watch this one because it spawned a whole franchise. So there is a cult following. There are people who really enjoyed it
as well.
Yeah, and it's you'll watch it and you'll start to think, oh, I've seen some of this previously. And so it's still worth a watch. And I agree with you. I'd put it in the watch on streaming service. I won't say pay for it. The next one brings us to 2 films of the same title.
2 films.
2 films. So one was made in 1989 and a remake of it that got released in 2019. So it came out just this year. What do you think it is?
It's not it.
Nope.
So
it's a horror film that came out this year, and it's a remake. So obviously Stephen King.
There's so I probably wouldn't even know if it was Stephen King though.
It's got a cat on the poster. That helps.
Cat. It doesn't help.
No. Okay. So this one is Pet Sematary.
Oh yes. Okay. Yeah, you talked about this one.
Yeah. So
this isn't one I saw so much.
Yeah. So this one I'm going to do spoiler free because I think this one, while it's not the greatest films ever, the twists and turns in these are worth watching. If you've seen,
you're giving it a 3-star already.
Yeah, straight away. I mean, off the bat, both of them. This has been parodied a lot. There's Simpsons episodes, Treehouse of Horrors. There's so many other kind of talk about Pet Sematary in other kind of pop culture references. So hence why we want to talk about it. So the original and the remake, if you watch the original and you've seen it to the end, you know what happens and you know what the twists and turns are. You watch the remake and the start of it all feels the same and looks the same.
Awesome.
But the twists and turns are very different. So like we talked about Lion King being exactly the same to the point where it's almost shot for shot remake. These two can stand alone as two separate films, two different interpretations of the same novel. And I've not read the novel to be able to say which one's more correct to the novel and which one isn't. But I like both of the ways they've kind of handled it. There are elements in one of them where they do a really good kind of, they push you, they show you something and you think it's going to happen, but it doesn't happen. So, you know, like sometimes you'll see in horror films, you'll see a shot of the kitchen and they've got all the steak knives and you know someone's going to use one of the steak knives, right? Or they'll do another shot of it and the steak knife's gone. So you know the next thing that's going to happen, they're going to get stabbed with the steak knife. And they set things up. So in the remake, they do something similar. They set things up and you're expecting that to happen in a particular way. And it doesn't happen then, and it catches you slightly off guard because it happened somewhere else at a different time. And I like that about this. Without giving anything away, I'll just kind of talk about the first 10, 15 minutes of the film because they both start the same. And then the rest of it, you can kind of go away and watch because I think you should watch them. And I think I watched the original years ago without seeing a trailer for it, and I appreciated the twists and turns better. So if you can avoid kind of any spoilers when you watch it, I think you'll appreciate it a lot more. So premise is there's a family, they move into a new house. In the back of their house, there's a pet cemetery where the locals go. The end. Good. That's right. We found
this one up now.
We found the pet cemetery. It's in the back of your garden. And the locals, you know, use the pet cemetery, and the neighbor talks about a curse, because I think it's in the original. I remember the ancient Indian burial ground. I can't remember if they refer to it in the new one, but it's there. And the premise is if you have an animal that dies, you take him to the pet cemetery, and if you do specific stuff, the animal comes back to life. So in both scenarios, there's a cat. The cat dies, and so instead of getting their child to go through that grief, what they do is they then the dad buries the cat based on the advice he gets from his neighbor in the pet cemetery, and the cat comes back to life.
Just go buy another cat that looks the same. Isn't that what you normally do for kids?
Exactly. So without even watching this film, you may have seen the Simpsons episode where they do something similar, and there's a pet cemetery involved in that as well. So it has been parodied. It has been parodied, and you might remember bits of it. But what the new version does, it takes a good spin on that. So it's taken the grounding, which is there's a pet cemetery. This thing happens with the cat, and the same thing happens in the original. But then there's lots of little changes in between, which I liked. Both films have got very similar Rotten Tomatoes rating. The original's at 52%, the new one's at 58%. So very similar kind of percentage. But they are very different films. I would say this is one.
Well, you said 3 stars already, so
yeah, that's what I was saying. I'll say both of them are worth watching. If you can't get hold of the original, still watch this one because I think there's enough twists and turns in this one. But I would, if you watch the new one, don't go back to the old one because then you'll. It's just because the modern kind of the way modern cinema works, and when you start looking back at old stuff, you're like, this isn't scary. I know what's going to come next. But I still think there's enough twists in the first one that you might not see coming. So I would say both of them are worth a watch.
Excellent.
So you haven't seen Pet Sematary yet?
No, I don't think so. No, but I'll give the first one 3 stars, and I'll give the fourth one 4 stars for it's messing with you. I like the sound of it.
Yeah, so the new one does that a lot, and I think it's quite clever. Like, it will show you something, and you're like, and you just got it in your mind, especially because I came in watching the original, and I was expecting beat for beat, this is what's going to happen.
It's the original, and it works off that.
Yes, so the basic premise is the same, and then everything else is different. So I'm going into the remake thinking, okay, I know what's going to happen. Herman Monster from the Monsters lives next door. He's going to tell the dad about the pet cemetery. In this case, it's John Lithgow. And then they're going to bury the cat. All of that I know is going to happen beat for beat, and I know what's coming next. I know about the trucks. I know about the ending. I know about all that stuff, and I'm watching it, and I was like, whoa, that's different. Whoa, that's different. I didn't expect to see that here. I didn't. They caught me off guard with this bit.
Yeah.
While it's not a super scary film, but it's more a film that messes with your head, I think, by the end of it.
Excellent. Yeah, 4 stars from me.
Brilliant. So that's Pet Sematary. That moves us into maybe my favorite 2 Stephen King films. Because I mean, it's good, but it's not great. I mean, not favorite 2, because there are still stuff like Misery and Carrie and so many good other films. I mean, 2 that don't get spoken a lot about. One is The Mist. What's the story?
Okay.
My Guy Monkey, I would like to know.
There's a mist, and it kills people.
Yes, it does. That's right. There's a mist that kills people.
I might have even seen this one. Maybe.
I
still know as much about it. There's a mist that kills people.
So the film came out in 2000. Yes, they are. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a remake, I guess, then.
Yes. So I'm talking about 2007. I don't know if this was made before that, but that's the one I'm talking about. So you might be thinking The Fog, John Carpenter's The Fog.
2 different things.
Yes. So The Mist is there's some sort of experimentation or something going out there. We don't know what it is, and then this big fog or mist comes across this little town, and what they find is if you're outside, there's something in the mist that's killing people. But if you're safe inside and you close all the doors and no mist comes in, you'll be safe. So this is the one, you're right, that they barricade themselves into a shop.
Yeah.
And then they basically try and...
of the fog.
Yes, because there's stuff inside the mist that's killing them. Some sort of like monster creatures. There's also a TV show on this. I like the TV show. I think it's just purely because I like this whole kind of concept. So if you're outside, if you're caught, there's a good chance you're going to die. If you get into your car and you close all the windows, you could drive around, but remember, because of the mist, it's very difficult to see where you're going, so you can't really get that far.
Yeah.
So what they have the idea
mist.
Of
can't get very far in mist.
Exactly. So they have an idea where when they're barricaded in the shop, that they will tie someone to the end of a rope and see how far he or she gets. And so the rope pulls and pulls, and then it just stops pulling. And then I think they pull it back, and they realize obviously whatever's in the mist has killed them.
Obviously.
Oh, of course, yeah. And so
guy.
So they barricaded themselves into that shop, and they're trying to kind of like they just there's a lot of people, so you need supplies and you need kind of more and more stuff. But people start to go crazy slowly. Some people jumping into the mist and some people kind of trying to get out of the mist. All sorts of craziness happens. And the film is just okay. Like, there's something in there. It's fine. We're not sure. And then you see these insectsy things coming and killing these people. And you're like, okay, it's all right. I mean, it's fine.
That's what's in the mist.
But then the ending. So do you remember this film at all?
I might do when you tell me.
Okay, so huge spoiler alert. So this is one of the...
First of all, insects. That's a spoiler.
That's right. Oh, yeah. We're spoiling this film from the start because we talked about the mist itself. So the end of the film, someone does escape, right? A couple of people escape. They get into a car and then they drive off and they're just like, look, let's just keep driving until we run out of gas or until we drive out of this mist, right? So we head in one direction, and in theory, if we drive as far as we can, we're out of the mist, we're done. So they drive off, and they get to a certain point into the mist, and then they run out of gas.
Oh, no.
So now they're stuck in the car with nowhere to go, and the mist is all around them. Okay, so do you think you know where he's going next?
Where's it going next? Well, they're dead, aren't they? They can't do anything now.
Not yet, but what's going to happen? They're stuck in a car. Literally, there's mist everywhere.
One gets out and pushes, and then dies while pushing.
That's quite good. That's quite a good idea. So basically, the main lead, David, they've got a gun in the car, and he's got two ideas. Either we go into the mist and die, and these creatures will kill us in whatever violent manner, or I take the bullets and I kill the people in the car one by one, including his own son.
Typical Stephen King.
So
he just kills the whole family.
He kills everyone, including his own son, and then, because there's no more bullets, he goes out into the mist. He stands out in the mist and he screams for the insects and monsters to come and get him. The mist disappears and the army arrives.
And he's just killed his family.
He has. It's literally waited a couple more minutes. Everything would have been good.
It's back to the pie scene all over again.
Yes, it is.
He's just fed pie to his family. Bullet pie.
So basically, he's done that one thing that is become synonymous with a Stephen King adaptation. Now, I've never read the book again, so I can't compare it like for like. But it is, it's one of those films where I watched it, and it's one where, like, The Thinner, I like the ending of. Pet Sematary, the new one, I like the ending of. But I think The Mist has the best ending from all the kind of Stephen King stuff. Because I think that, because he's got the choice, and then he makes that choice of killing them all because he's thinking that's the better option. Yeah. And then literally walking outside thinking, you know what, I put them out of their misery, but now, you know, whatever's out there, just come and get me. And it all disappears, and he's got to live with that for the rest of his life, or for as long as he lives, knowing what he's just done.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, but at the same time, could he have done it with his family in the car? Like, it would have been worse to say to them, look, guys, I'm going to leave you just alive in the car, and I'm just going to go walk out into the mist on my own. And then, you know, that's the same events could have taken place, but I don't think he would have done that to his family, just leave them to watch him die. So he's kind of made the right choice, but we don't know how things would have unfolded otherwise. I mean, maybe killing his family and stepping out and facing the mist in those exact ways was what got rid of the mist. We don't know.
Yes, it could be. It could be that that's just what got the mist wanted him to sacrifice. The mist wanted
sacrifice and some bravery.
Yeah, so that was one of my kind of favorite kind of endings to a film, where it's kind of like he's got to kill his own kid, and then to walk out into the mist thinking it's all over anyway. This is the end, but it's not the end. So based on our rating, where do you put this one?
This one, I'm going to give this 2 stars. Just get it on streaming.
On streaming.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay, but it's mist, isn't it? It's just some mist. And
well, it's 72% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. What would you rate it?
I'd give it 72% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Would you? Is that 3 or 4 stars?
I would say, yeah, this is one you should pay to watch.
Okay, cool.
But I've ruined the ending, so watch it on streaming now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to watch it on streaming now. I'll watch the ending for free.
And now
skip to it.
Now the 5th one and it's the most. It's the third
Highest
now.
rate.
It's now the third highest grossing Stephen King film of all time. So it made like 700 million worldwide. Chapter 2 just came out this weekend, and it'll most probably outgross this film anyway. So what do you think is the highest grossing Stephen King adaptation of all time? Not including It and It Too.
It's not even Carrie or anything like that.
It's not, no.
Oh,
you might not even
Night
think
Flyer.
of this. No, you might not even think of this as a Stephen King book.
Exactly. That's the problem. It's none of the ones that we've heard of. So
this is one that I
what is it?
actually read the book of before the film came out.
Oh wow, okay.
So I've only ever completely read 2 Stephen King books. This is one, and the other one is The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, which has been adapted and turned into a film, which I don't think they should do, because the big bad at the end literally just happens at the end, and she throws her Walkman at it. That's kind of like the book. But anyway, this is obviously a Tom Hanks starer. So obviously it's got to be his biggest film of all time, Stephen King's. Stars Michael Clarke Duncan.
Is it Green Mile?
That's right. Yeah, it's The Green Mile. Stephen King's The Green Mile. So
Tom
what's
Hanks.
the story, My Guy Monkey? I would like to know. Have you seen this one?
Okay. Yeah, I know this one.
Yes.
I can give you at least 2 sentences for this one. Okay, so The Green Mile. The guys are in a secure prison before people are executed.
Yep.
They're guards. A guy gets charged with murder of a child. A huge black guy. Two kids.
Yep. You're right, yeah. Okay. But it's a good memory.
Yeah, I know this one. Yeah, good memory. You just reminded me it's 2 kids. But yeah, he's charged, but while he's in this prison waiting to be executed, it becomes quite evident to everyone that he's actually a very simple and very kind guy.
Yes.
And it turns out that he has something a bit more special about him as well. That's my non-spoiler version. Spoiler version, I'll carry on.
Yes, carry on. It's a film from 1999, 20 years old, so you can spoil it.
Yeah, hopefully everyone's seen it. But yeah, I mean, he can breathe life into things and heal people.
Yes.
He has a gift. He can absorb their pain and their suffering, and even death, I think.
Yep, and he has the ability to read people, so he can work out what happened. So he's got a bit more to it, because he works out who the killer is.
Oh yeah, he does when he touches them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this all comes about because he brings a little mouse to life. Because one of the other residents has a pet mouse, and some evil guy decides to kill the mouse, so he brings the mouse back to life.
Yeah.
And that's when they start to think, actually, hey, this guy could be useful to us. And then that's when they start to realise he's actually probably innocent. But then there's a horrific scene when he does actually go to the chair. He doesn't get pardoned or anything like that. I think that's right.
That's right, he does. He doesn't get pardoned, sorry. Yeah,
he doesn't get pardoned, and he does get executed. Does he get executed properly? Is it the other guy that doesn't get the wet flannel put in properly?
That's right. It's the guy before he doesn't get the sponge thing put on him to conduct the electricity. That's right.
Yeah, the wet sponge. So basically, that electrocution doesn't go properly, and he ends up. That's one of the most memorable scenes, I think I'd say, from the film. It's when the guy's getting in the electric chair, and obviously it's not going as fast as it should do, and it starts smoking, and then he sets on fire. Brilliant scene.
Yes. And the whole film is pretty much set in that whole prison area. There's not a lot of outside shooting. There's not much kind of world building. It's literally they come in, they spend the 2 hours plus in that the film,
Yeah.
just literally in there. And there's a couple of bits where he goes back to see his wife or coming back, but it's all there.
Yeah.
It's really good. Like Tom Hanks is on point. Michael Clarke Duncan is really good as John Coffey. Sam Rockwell's in there. There's loads of other good people as well, but they're just so good. I think you said it right. So that the guy is the guy on death row. It's his mouse that dies because one of the guards is harassing him and kills the mouse. He brings the mouse back to life.
Oh,
But before that, Paul, as in Tom Hanks' character's, suffering from like a bladder infection, and and that's what he kind of like. While he's suffering from that, he kind of helps him through that using his kind of powers.
Him and heals him.
That's right. Yeah.
Sucks it out of him.
Yeah, and this is quite different from the book because in the book, it's so basically Stephen King released the books as can't remember what they're called, but he released, I think it's 6 or 8 chapters, but he put it in the newspaper, people can read it that way, and then he combined all of them and they sold it as a book. And in the book, the guard uses his detective skills and he's able to work out that John Coffey was innocent based on talking to the prisoners, talking to John Coffey, that it's not that moment where they hold hands and he then realizes that John Coffey is an innocent man and, he shouldn't be on death row. So the film changed that a bit because I think in the book you could spend several chapters about someone going away investigating stuff and finding out information, while in a film you're constrained by maybe your budget, you're constrained by time, so you want to keep that all quite simple, keep it quite punchier, and so they just put it to the moment where they kind of hold when they get a handshake or whatever it was. But but this is such a good movie anyway, regardless of the changes from the book. It's still really well. And John Coffey, like Michael Clarke Duncan, he's such a huge, imposing person, but his mannerisms, the way he talks, the way he spells his name, he's just like a gentle giant.
Really great, yeah. I think they did the right thing, focusing on the characters and just letting the characters show whether they're innocent or not, and just leaving. Because I think if you have a character that is investigating, then they're doing all the work. But in this case, they're showing you all the different things going on, leaving the audience to think what's happened, and leaving the audience to decide for themselves.
And a lot of this work is down to a good screenwriter. So someone who takes the book, which is hundreds of pages big, and he or she then adapts it in a way that you can turn it into a film. And I think this is a good example where a Stephen King book done well, it in terms of box office, it's his highest grossing film after the two It films, and obviously it's one.
This was a Stephen King.
That's one of the things that a lot of people forget. Like, it got nominated for Academy Awards for Best Supporting Actor, Best Film, Best Sound Screenplay. Like it was, there's loads of other awards it was nominated for as well, because it's just a good film back in 2000. It didn't win an Academy Award, but I think it won some other awards, and it's good because it's at that time where people accused people of a crime, and then that person would just literally, this is what would happen. They would end up at death row, and there was no trial after that point. You would just literally, you're put into death row and you were going to die, and that was the end of the case. When a lot of innocent people would have been
some trials, but certainly some people in certain circumstances, which I'm sure is the case today as well. But less so.
And in those cases, they didn't have stuff like DNA evidence. They didn't have fingerprinting or anything. So literally, because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, he's the one they put in prison. And because it's a murder of 2 white girls, he was then on death row. So it's not your typical Stephen King kind of horror film. Some of his other films aren't either. But it's one of those.
There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, and I think they did a great job in this.
Yeah.
I
don't know how much they changed it, but it obviously screenwriting helps.
Oh yeah, definitely, and I love the fact that they spent that time. I don't know if they built that whole Green Mile set, but they spent more time in there, and they give you a chance to kind of really feel for Tom Hanks's character. The warden's wife, we also get like more time with John Coffey. Sam Rockwell, who's kind of like the weird guy as well, and all of it's kind of there. And the death scenes are a little bit long, maybe, if you're a younger person watching this.
Yeah.
But overall, it's still such a good film. Like, it's so well done, so well acted. The story's good. I think I was reading the thing. It's just under 3 hours. So it was a long film.
It's quite a long film, but it's captivating.
Oh yeah, from start to finish. I remember watching the film, and it's narrated by Tom Hanks because he's doing the story back. But I don't feel like when I watched this film, I thought it's one of those that you looked at your watch. I felt like the time just flew by. Yeah.
Always with character films and good conversation, you can just get pulled in. And yeah, I think also if the book might even be better written than some of his other books, because I was just thinking, if he's written it in 8 chapters for a magazine or a newspaper, maybe that prompted him to make 8 interesting things rather than just sort of one. So that's why maybe you've actually got something going on throughout rather than just one idea.
Yeah, so I think
knows? I haven't read it, so
yeah. So I think what they did was they have this. I guess they had a newspaper back then, and they used to just publish extracts of the whole book. And so he must have written it in a way where they can do that for the next 6 to 8 months, whatever it was. Maybe they released it every month, and then because it was popular and people enjoyed it, they thought, let's just put it together and publish it as a book and sell it, obviously, and then slap Stephen King's name on it because it'll sell. And it does. Anything that's got his name on it, it will sell.
Yeah. But Stephen King wrote them, right?
Yes. Yeah. He wrote all the books, yeah.
So he basically invented the Netflix series. He invented the idea of a series, produce 8 of them.
Yeah. And then get people to buy your book. Yeah.
Then get to buy the box set.
I mean, he's not got a bad book. I mean, like he's got loads of books, and they've all sold millions of copies. So he could slap his name on anything. It would have sold at that point because he was so well known. He's known around the world. I mean, and some of the films that are in his top 10 highest kind of rated as well. We'll talk about them shortly. It's just anything he was writing. I guess at those points he could have just sold millions of copies because once you've got some really good books out there, anything that comes out after that, people just want more and more. Like Terry Pratchett did the Discworld. People just keep buying Discworld. Neil Gaiman did books. People as soon as you hear the person's name, you just buy tons of them.
He's one of those names. He's a kind of parodied name, but I'm sure he's got a lot of actual fans.
Yes, yeah. Again, he's someone who's appeared in Simpsons as himself, and they parody him in The Simpsons about writing and how quick he turns around the books and stuff. So they're my 5. They're my 5 top picks from kind of
those are your top King. 5 Stephen King films.
I'd say 5 that don't get spoken about as much.
No.
There's loads of really.
Let's just wipe out all the others and just say those are your top 5.
Top 5. I mean, there's so many. They're the only ones I love. There's so many good ones like The Running Man, Christine, and even in the top 10 like The Shining, It. There's a film that's currently on Netflix called Gerald's Game, and it's based on a Stephen King book. It's on a streaming service, but it's one of the best Netflix films out there. This currently sits as second highest rated on Rotten Tomatoes as well. It's a really, really good film. That I'd say definitely watch.
What's that called?
Gerald's Game.
Okay, Gerald's Game.
Yeah, made in 2017. So it's a newish film. It's on Netflix. Just watch it. It's so good.
That might be one to check out then. That's a hot take.
So because that's a newish one. I'm sure if you're talking Stephen King, people have already seen stuff like Misery, Shawshank Redemption, Stand By Me, Carrie, but that's one that may have just gone under the radar because it didn't get a cinematic release. There's no DVDs or anything of it. But it is really good. And there's another film that came out again in 2017, just a couple of years ago, 1922 it's called. And that again is a Netflix original, and that's really good as well.
Okay.
So they're my hot picks for Stephen King films. Pet Sematary.
Did you give the last one a star rating? It's a 4 stars, all right.
For Green Mile. Oh yeah, cinema. Yeah. Definitely cinema.
Really?
It's such a good film. And Gerard's Game, I know it's on Netflix, but yeah, that in 1922. If anyone hasn't seen them, highly recommended.
Is and that all 2 stars because it's on streaming?
Yeah, I know that's the unfortunate thing. Even though it's got 91% on Rotten Tomatoes or 89% Rotten, it's a 2-star rating based on our kind of rating system.
Would you pay for it though? Would you pay for it? Would you
see when I saw the trailer, and I was like, I don't know if I like this. I'm not interested in it, or what is this? As I watched the film, it's really compelling. It's something that just caught me off guard. I didn't expect it to be the way it is, and it's good. I would say avoid the trailer. 1922, it doesn't matter if you watch the trailer or not, but especially for Gerard's Game, just watch it as is, because the trailer might actually put you off the film. And I think that's quite a punchy hour and a half. It's not a long film, but it's really good. Really good.
Excellent. Okay.
So that's our review of Stephen King's film adaptations, because It Chapter 2 just came out this weekend. Now, yes, it just came out this weekend.
Yeah, I know that.
So now we go into our
I hope to see it, but segment.
Segment. So, MyGuy Quick Reviews. Okay, so what have we been up to? What can we quickly review?
What have I been up to? Well, I talked about Assassins of Valencia, the book, new one.
No.
I've started reading that, so I'm maybe about halfway through. It's the new Fighting Fantasy game book that's come out. The new ones tend to be written a bit more for younger audiences now, so that's evident. You can tell that when in the writing, but it's still really good writing. Ian Livingstone is a great writer, and I just love his writing, his descriptions and stuff. So even though there's some stuff that's occasionally off-putting because it's changed, made more simple for kids, it's still great writing. So yeah, I got it on hardback, which means I can't really take it out and read it when I'm outside. That was a mistake because it's heavy. I should have got the paperback as well. But
having a hardback will also mean because you've got your Wii Fit, as we've discovered. It means you could do muscle building, right? So you can actually do weights. This could actually help.
I could do the Wii Fit at the same time. Yeah, I could go for a jog.
Yes.
While reading Assassins of Valencia on the Wii Fit.
That's right.
Anything for you? I've got a few other things. I finally watched Bridesmaids.
Yes. I think you texted me about this one, but yeah, tell me your take on it, because I gave this as Melissa McCarthy's top 3. This was one of the recommendations. Yeah. Now, you've seen some of the other Melissa McCarthy films. You've definitely seen Spy.
Yeah, she's good in this one. She's got a good character.
Very small role, but yeah.
Small part, but she is in it. Yeah, she is a solid character in the movie, but she does kind of just turn up in the middle and in the end. But yeah, she's good in that. And I think I had actually seen the film before on telly, but sort of in the background. I think I might have had a different take on it then. This time, yeah, the main character is kind of tragic. It's kind of a tragic story. Yeah. And the ending, the sort of happy ending, was a bit unexplained. It was a bit sudden. I think they could have set that up better.
No, I think there's enough breadcrumbs there for a happy ending. Her and the police officer kind of getting along well enough. Her and her friend are kind of patching up things throughout the film. Yeah, I don't know. For me, I felt it was earned. I know what you mean. For some
Yeah.
people, you could.
But the thing is, he completely ignored the cake. You know, the cake. He left it on the doorstep. Didn't even touch it. That showed to me that he was really not happy, and he just seemed like he was done with it. And for him to suddenly turn up, it just felt kind of out of the blue for me.
I think he left the cake because that's symbolism, to say I can do a big gesture as well, and then he turned up at the end. Because I think the cake was a big gesture for him, and then he must have felt that way, and therefore when he turns up at the end, maybe. Plus, you always get that in certain romantic comms, don't you? You have that last ditch, last dash effort.
Trigger, yeah. Yeah, I think the last dash effort would have been from her, because she was the one that messed up. So I would have expected her to do something more rather than sort of just keep on using him, and maybe actually have a heartfelt apology and explanation of her situation or something like that.
Maybe that was all off screen. Maybe they had that. Maybe we just missed it.
Maybe.
And what else?
Yep. I watched Cooties, which is a different thing. This is basically, it's about a substitute school teacher in a school and zombie kids. That's basically all you need to know. And it's kind of comedy.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to be kind of more low budget, but it's got Elijah Woods in it. I think it is.
Brilliant! Yeah.
And a couple of other comedians you probably heard of, but I'd have to look those up. And there's even a Hobbit joke at one point during the movie. It's actually quite funny. It's quite good. He literally just sort of refers to him as wanting to do something like a Hobbit, and he's like, "What?" That's quite good.
I like a good throwback to pop culture effect. Yeah, whenever they do that, I do quite like them. I know Deadpool does the most. He does so many callbacks to so much other things, and the only problem with that, it ages the film, I feel. So like Deadpool 2 came out. I think it's hilarious, but there's a lot of jokes about the DC universe, about Josh Brolin playing Thanos, but in 5 years' time, when people have moved on and things are happening, if you go back and watch the film, a lot of those pop cultural references are for that era, so it will date quickly. It doesn't mean it'll date badly.
For Elijah. Yeah.
I think it will always if it's just one joke.
Because he is the Lord of the Rings, isn't he? He's like the centre.
And I guess it's only if it's one joke, if it's not something that's hammered in throughout the film, then I think it works. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Other than that, just video games. I had a go at the Wipeout that was on PS Plus.
Oh yes,
last month.
The new PS4 version.
That was okay. Yeah, can't really say anything bad about it.
It is what it is. It's a drive.
It's the usual sort of unlocking the next section by doing well in the previous section.
Yeah.
So that is kind of more generic. And also I just finally got the last trophy on Dragon's Crown as well. So that took some effort.
God. We could stop talking about that game.
Stop talking about it now. Yeah.
I feel like I've heard about that game for so long. No, you don't have to. You finished trophy hunting. You don't need to play anymore.
Yeah. I had to level up an entire different character just to finish the trophies, because there's this one last trophy where you have to get a massive hit with one single hit, and only one character can really do it. So that was kind of a pain in the ass trophy. Apart from that, the trophies were quite fun.
Cool. But we'll no longer speak of that game.
What have you been up to? I'll be talking about it again next week.
So I've been watching loads of Stephen King stuff. Prep for this podcast, if you didn't know. And I also been playing Batman Arkham Knights. Yeah, the new one that got released on PlayStation Network. It's not a new game; it's an old game. And it's like Batman, but you've got your Batmobile this time. So if ever you're kind of fighting or you're doing stuff and you want to call your Batmobile, you press L1 on the PS4 and Batmobile just drives in.
Excellent. Like Red Dead Redemption, whistling your horse.
The problem that I have with the Batmobile is while the map's bigger and you can drive around, there's not really any other cars, and the Batmobile is more of a tank. It can just drive through anything. Like GTA nailed the driving aspect of the game, and you always felt like it's a living city. I know Arkham is always dark, it's nighttime, and there's only ever criminals on the floor, so you're not going to see kind of civilians for whatever reason. That's the way the Arkham games work. But
they should be. They should have civilians.
Yeah, they should have.
There's no states without civilians.
Yeah, and I think that's what would have been quite good, is if the driving parts, you're kind of up against normal traffic as well, because Batman doesn't always drive with no cars around. But then, and the other thing that's kind of, it's good and it's not good is the actual flying mechanic is good. So when you glide, you can glide faster and you can glide over larger terrain quicker. But as you're gliding, you could press R1, I think it is, and that's his grappling hook. And the grappling hook grapples like 100 meters or 150 or something. It grapples really far, and I feel like I'm Spider-Man.
Yeah,
like I leap off a building, and I press the R1, and he grapple hooks. I get to the top, and then I do the same again. And what you can do as well is when you're grappling, you can press a certain button and you make him glide. So it's like being Spider-Man. You jump from one building, and then before you get to that building, and the momentum of the swing, you let go and you can do a couple of spins or something and catch on to the next building. It made me feel like a Batman was my Spider-Man.
They should have made it so that if you do like combinations of the two of those different things, that it gives away your position, or it sacrifices your stealth. Like, and everyone like is after you or something, because then you would have felt more like Batman, maybe. Like, because Batman's about being dark and sneaking around. You don't want to be too flying around doing flips like Spider-Man.
Yeah, he doesn't do flips, but what you can get him to do is grapple onto a building, which is hundreds of meters away. But as you get closer to it, you press a certain combination, and it'll let go of the grappling, and then you'll just fly instead. So you just go straight from grapple to fly. So you can go over large terrain very quickly. So the map is a lot bigger.
It's useful for getting around, but then why have a car?
So the car also allows you to kind of drive around, but there are a few car-related missions as well.
Or the Batwing. The Batwing.
And they're all right. They're fine. Yeah. Well, if you had Batwing, you're kind of opening up the map to the point where you'd have to be massive, because Batman is still human and he needs to fight at street level. He's not fighting intergalactic, is he? So there's no point having a Batwing. But having the Batmobile, there are a few games and a few things you have to do with the Batmobile. Most of which I found quite boring. You turn into tank mode, and you can move around and you shoot other cars and stuff. And then you have to use the tank because you've got a harpoon, and that will open up certain areas. Without the car, you won't be able to complete those bits. So it gets a bit tedious when it's the car stuff. I just want to be Batman, and I want to just kind of go off and do stuff. But it's a new mechanic, which is good to introduce, because it almost feels like the game would become stale without a new thing.
Yeah, it needs something. I mean, they seem to be struggling with the whole size of the city thing and population and things, because obviously the first game was so concise and was so good. They're trying to keep to that conciseness, but not really. They're trying to expand it at the same time.
And this is the problem you have because of open world and the way games are moving towards. You want this game to be similar to that, so you want it to feel like you're in Gotham. You want it to feel like you're in Arkham, but you want the world to be quite big, and you don't just, because with Arkham Asylum, you're just in the asylum. So that was it, and then you had the very first Arkham City. And now you're in the city, and the city, similar to that one, to this game, doesn't feel like there's a lot of people around. So it takes a little while if you just want to go around hitting people. But the actual fight mechanics, because it's PS4, is much better. Like the movement, the jumping around, the dodging, all that's much better now, because I think they've really refined that well. And it's
Spider-Man
a good.
Now.
Yeah, now I'm Spider-Man. But it's still a good, solid kind of superhero game, and there's enough gameplay even in the main missions. I think it's like 12 to 15 hours, so there's enough to keep you going. Tons of Riddler trophies to collect if you're interested in that kind of stuff. And quite a few side missions as well.
Okay, I might try it then. I might have to give it a go, as it's on PSN right now.
Yes,
for free.
it is. Yeah. Yes, it is. So it's well worth the download.
I've downloaded it. I'm just not played it.
Okay, so you just need to get around to it. Yeah, I find the PlayStation hard drive fills up very quickly when I keep downloading and stuff. So I downloaded this. I've got Sniper 4 on there. I've got Darksiders 3 on there. I've got Bloodborne, which I play, even though I platinum trophied it. Even though I was shitting over your game, and I talk about how I love my game.
Still playing it. Yeah. Well, I'm going to be playing Dragon's Crown next week. Talking about it.
So that's kind of like what I've been up to. Our quick reviews. We on to the next one.
Next segment. Yeah.
Okay. So MyGuy quick previews. What are we doing next week? Are you watching It Chapter 2?
Yes. I expect I will get round to watching It Chapter 2 next week.
Cool. If you get around to watching it, I will try and watch It Chapter 2 too. Because it's long, and everyone knows this is the worst part of the book. It's the worst part of the TV show.
If this is a remake, as we were just saying, some of the modern versions can be better. So I'm expecting it to be okay.
Now I'm going to go in with very low expectations. So then when it is okay, I can be like, oh, I was quite surprised. I was like, that was better than I thought it was. The thing that kind of interests me the most is the star cast is really good for the adults. You got James McAvoy, Jessica Chastain, and Bill Hader's in it as well, to name just kind of a few of the guys. So I'm looking forward to it in that manner. But I know the ending based on the original TV show. So I wonder how they can do the end. I'm not going to say the ending, but I hope they can. I hope they can do a better ending. The thing that I loved was that teaser clip or trailer that they released where Jessica Chastain goes back to the old house and she's talking to the old lady. That was really good. The trailer that followed after that were all just kind of, here's a symbolism screen. Look, there's loads of blood. Look, there's a balloon in the air. Look, his head is smashing through a glass. All that stuff is kind of boring to me. Nothing exciting. But that conversation in that room, that I really liked.
It's an example of something that's actually in the movie. So you know if it's going to be good or not.
If it's like that for 3 hours, it's too long. But if it's like that in the moments of horror, and I'll be like, yes, I love it. But yeah, we'll wait and see. I've got low expectations, and hopefully they can prove me wrong.
Good.
Anything else for next week?
The other thing is, I think your favourite game of all time is coming out today.
Yes, it has. It's been released. Pre-ordered.
Borderlands 3.
Done. Yes. Thank you for everyone listening to that Borderlands podcast. It's one of our biggest podcasts we've ever had. I'm super excited for Borderlands 3. I've read a bit about the premise, and it is pretty much what I thought it was. So I'm looking forward to it because it will be jumping worlds.
Excellent.
And we're going to see different terrain.
Excellent, as predicted.
Yes.
So have you downloaded it already, or is it?
No, I just need to buy it
automatically. You need to buy it.
I need to buy it.
I think you pre-ordered it.
No, because I forgot.
Okay.
now I just need to go and buy it, and then I can start.
You're going to get it on disc or PSN?
It's one of those where the advantage of having a digital copy now is good, but has no resale value. But would I play the game? It's tough. I think I'd have to. I think PSN has its advantages.
In your hand as well.
Yeah, because I can open it up and have my booklets.
On the shelf.
Yeah, I think this is one I'll have to go to the shops tonight. See, we live in the UK. We have shops that sell stuff still. Not everything has to be digitally bought. So I'll go out and buy that because I do like the box. The only thing the reason why I didn't want to buy it straight away was the DLCs, because some of the DLCs in especially Borderlands 1 and 2 were really good.
Yeah. You got the Game of the
So
Year
I'm still
edition.
umming and ahhing, like, do I buy it and get season pass and hope I get all the DLCs, or do I need to buy 2 season passes to get the DLCs? And then, because what they do, they release a whole bunch of so what they did with Handsome Jack Collection, they released the DLCs as part of your season pass, and then the Headhunter stuff and the OP levels were all part of a second season pack, and that also increased the character level as well.
That's a bit annoying.
That's my problem. Like,
a season pass should be everything.
It should be, yeah. And that's why do you wait 2 years or so and get a whole, Game of the Year edition, a complete, or do you buy it now and then hope you get everything in the next?
Yeah. That's
so
the
yeah,
same
it's a tough one.
River City Girls that I talked about last week.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay the full price for it. Slightly different story. I just don't want to pay the full price, so I'm having to wait to. I'm like umming and ahhing as to whether I just spend the money and play it.
Yeah.
But actually, I can hold out. I'm not that excited. I can hold out because there's more exciting things happening. So
yeah,
Borderlands
Chapter 2.
Yeah, Chapter 2 as well. Yeah, Assassins of Valencia.
Oh yes, that's out there as well.
Lots of exciting stuff.
Lots of good stuff. Yeah, so you know what? I'll just buy it. I'll take a hit. I'll get it, and then I'll buy the season pass.
Okie doke.
And then I'll just download the DLCs.
I'll have to look at the price. I'm not as enthusiastic about it, but I would like to co-op, so that might mean I have to buy it.
We still haven't finished co-op in Handsome Jack or the prequel.
Yeah. Or 2.
Handsome Jack is the second one. Yeah. So at some point we will co-op this one as well.
Yes, when I buy it next year.
Yes.
Free PSN.
Yep. Okay, so that's the end of the podcast. How can they contact us?
You can contact us by all the stuff in the description. MyGuy Reviews at whatever. MyGuy_reviews at whatever. It's all below. All the information is below.
So we've got a Twitter page, which is MyGuy_reviews. Got email account, myguyreviews@gmail.com. Got an Instagram at MyGuyReviews at Instagram, however you guys get it. And however you're listening to this, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. Tell a friend. Put some more kind of comments and thoughts and stuff onto iTunes so we can push that ranking up. Download it for someone else. Send them a link. However you can do it on whatever network you can access this from. So thanks for listening and subscribe for more
suggestions.
Yes, and give us your topic ideas, and we'll try and discuss them. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, my guy.
Thanks. Bye.